We have to go back, Kate. We have to go back!
To start, I need you all to understand that I really do love Halo Infinite. I know I haven't talked about it all that much on this channel lately, but I also haven't showered in 4 days, so sometimes you just forget to do stuff.
We need help, not heroics.
There are only a small handful of franchises that come to mind when discussing the reflections of what perfectly defined when the gaming space finally entered the new millennium. Games that stylistically mirrored the essence of a new future that today resembles more of a forgotten time capsule that's still, in my opinion, pretty badass.
Send me out with a bang.
Jet Set Radio, Metal Gear Solid 2, Perfect Dark, Grand Theft Auto 3, and Halo Combat Evolved. There are definitely more you could make an argument for, but these are just the ones that come to mind for me. Every one of these titles slapped harder than a Reach assassination. But more than that, they also define the shift in a wildly different world we were launching into. Jet Set Radio embodied a speed and unique aesthetic that set a sharp rebellion with its soundtrack and visual style. Perfect Dark laid the groundwork for future tech. Metal Gear introduced themes of surveillance and misinformation to tackle the fears surrounding the cultural complexity of that time. Grand Theft Auto was just plain f***ing madness. And Halo perfected all of these improvements while somehow seemingly only being a rush job for Bungie to help showcase the original Xbox. The way we know Halo today wasn't even the game that they wanted to make. This was Bungie's way of scrambling to put something out. Anything, really. And it's still beloved and talked about to this day along with other titans of the industry. But are people still playing it? Back in the days of 360 and the original Xbox, Halo wasn't just a game, it was a way of bringing people together. My friends and I celebrated every midnight launch.
This is Halo Joust.
My cousins begged me to bring it over every Christmas. And I even made new friends through the game that I still talk to. Literal bridges connected across the globe from the impact of these first few titles. But over the last 13 years or so, those once strong branches have stopped reaching out. Somewhere along the way, Halo became something more of a favorite childhood movie that, for whatever reason, doesn't translate to new gamers today. These Fortnite and Roblox kids couldn't care less. And honestly, why should they? The games don't really reflect their current reality. At this point, 343, Halo Studios, whatever you want to call them, has been handling the Halo property longer than Bungie ever did. Why does it feel like no matter how hard they try, they will always be looking back to move forward, instead of the game progressing organically into what it needs to be based on, where we've grown and changed as a society? Is this impossible?
I am already dead.
Indeed.
Innovation is something that is surprisingly lacking in our games today. They're beautiful, lifelike, but ultimately resembles real life more than giving us an escape from our own. And this goes with the steps in consoles over the last 2 generations. The original jump from the Super Nintendo to the N64 to the GameCube isn't even something you need to say in a sentence, you can just see it with your eyes. And now when we think of a generational leap with a company like Nintendo, we think of a Kinect from 2010, but I gotta admit, Mario Kart's really fun. But we aren't really progressing. Things are moving faster than ever, but it really feels like we've been standing in the same spot for over a decade at this point. You don't have to take my word for it, just look at the industry over the last few years. Every remake, remaster, and reimagining comes from the original impact of these titles we're talking about. And people actually want these games. So why is no one playing Halo? I'd argue they are, it's just not totally reflected in a way we can measure by modern metrics. MCC holds a good chunk of the fan base that wants to conveniently relive the glory days, but Microsoft's flagship Infinite is a dwindling graveyard compared to the numbers at launch. And maybe one of you in the comments can let me know if people are still hopping on Guardians in 2025, because honestly, I have no idea. The reason things feel so fast yet stagnant is a lack of visionary innovation. We keep looking back because we know nostalgia bait works, but without the scarcity of a real reason to bring those memories back. Personally, I've hit a wall. I don't want to only address what I've already experienced, but if all the industry is going to do is look back, maybe we should do the same to understand completely how we got here.
The difference between good enough and awesome is so big, and I mean, there's standards set by everyone here that, I mean, good enough sucks.
At the time, Bungie was this indie studio, famous for the Marathon series, which looks like it was maybe going to get a second wave of life, and oh no. I won't get into that right now. My point is Bungie had some small successes, but nothing on the scale of Halo yet, and they were trying to find their next big thing. Enter Microsoft, who were looking for something to really show off the power of the Xbox back in 2001, and it was about to launch. So Bungie at first wasn't entirely sure about the whole deal. They were used to working more independently, but Microsoft had this vision for what Halo could be, a massive, epic sci-fi shooter that could launch the console into the stratosphere. At first, Bungie had to sort of wrap their heads around this new dynamic. They weren't used to working under such a big corporate umbrella, and Microsoft was pretty hands-on with the direction of the game, but in a way it was kind of the perfect storm. Bungie was filled with incredibly talented and creative people, and Microsoft gave them all the resources they needed to push their vision to the next level. But they had to shift gears fast too, from becoming a studio that made PC games to suddenly creating a console-exclusive shooter. But it worked out. Halo turned out to be the exact system seller they needed, and it put both Bungie and Microsoft on the map in a huge way. Halo introduced players to a compelling universe with rich lore, memorable characters, and a story that blended science fiction with an action-based game loop that felt familiar and also fresh. In the early 2000s, gaming was transitioning from a niche hobby to a mainstream activity. It almost feels because most consumers didn't really know what was going on in the gaming space. The corporations that bought these developers weren't as hands-on as they are today. There wasn't really a way to measure success other than hiring inspired people and giving them the toys to make something great. And Halo was at the forefront of this charge, making it not just a game but a cultural phenomenon. It helped make multiplayer gaming in living rooms a regular thing, and helped to make gaming become an acceptable society activity among friends and communities. Today there are way too many boardrooms and ways to measure what makes a game on paper successful. Halo came out during a time where the internet was becoming more accessible, and the gaming industry was starting to really push technology limits. Your MySpace page said a lot about you, but the way you customized your Spartans said even more. At the time, these games, for the most part, didn't feel like a nostalgia of anything. Sure, there were influences from films like Aliens, and it had some pretty clear nods to Larry Niven's novel Ringworld, but it used these influences to better inform their own world, not blatantly pander to a familiar feeling. Or steal, because stealing is bad, kids. Jesus Christ, what happened to this fucking company? Honestly, stories like this just don't work as well today. The idea of unknown searching for a lost idea or understanding falls by the wayside when every other 6-year-old has an iPhone 16 in their pocket. It's not that these stories don't still work, it's just no one cares. There's not enough at stake for new fans of the series. And if the multiplayer is pay to win, no one's gonna play it. Because if there are younger gamers interested in Halo, they're probably more focused on skins and unlockables over storytelling substance. And it's not really their fault, the industry has driven them into this line of thinking. Put simply, the way we buy and interact with games has totally changed. We've shifted towards products being more of a service than an actual tangible thing you own, with many titles focusing on microtransactions, battle passes, and free-to-play modes. This has led to change in how games are structured, monetized, and creating a different type of gaming culture altogether. Halo, traditionally a premium game, has struggled to adapt to this new environment. For old fans that expect what we know, and for new fans that don't understand the transition. With the rise of digital distribution, gaming communities have become more fragmented. There's less of a singular unifying title like Halo that can pull people together to create a global community. Halo was a beacon for the Xbox where everyone played it on the same platform, but today, players are spread across different ecosystems, PC, Xbox, handhelds, and it kind of sounds like maybe even the Switch and PlayStation pretty soon. The expectation from both players and developers has also evolved. What we considered revolutionary in 2001, an open-world, high-fidelity shooter with online multiplayer, is now seen as kind of standard and expected. Developers continually evolve games with live updates or don't even finish the games at launch. Their attention is more on seasonal content and ways to interact with social media, which shifts the focus away from creating a singular groundbreaking experience. Halo was a defining reason to own an Xbox. Now the whole reason to buy an Xbox, I couldn't tell you why, and with everything going up in price, I don't know why anyone ever would. In today's gaming culture, having a unique system-defining title like Halo is much harder because of how interconnected and accessible gaming has become, unless you're Nintendo. While Halo is still a major franchise, the world in which it originally succeeded has changed dramatically, making it much harder for one single game to have the same impact. And with Xbox's lack of discussion in their last showcase, I think that kind of speaks for itself, don't you? We don't even watch the same shows anymore. When's the last time a friend recommended a show you had to watch and you'd actually seen it. We are all spread way too thin. And honestly, looking at Microsoft today, so are our games. When people say they want to go back, I understand it, but where does that leave us going?